this make sense. Rams winning 3 straight at home Monday night against the 2-6 Dolphins, and they can't get a win? Fins up, baby. Let's get to this one. Rams hosting the Dolphins on Veterans Day. First quarter opening drive for the Fins. Tua scrambling out of trouble. Gets out of the pocket. Downfield to Jalen Waddle. Nice. 36 yards right there. Dolphins driving. Very next play. 1st and 10 from the Rams 18. Malik Washington. And the Rams D doesn't stand a chance. Untouched. In for the touchdown. Dolphins up 7-0 early. Second quarter. Dolphins now up 10-0. 2nd and 15. Watch this. Tua intercepted by Christian Roseboom. Now watch Tua. You see him right there? Putting his head down on the tackle.
Tua.
And all of Miami gasped. What are you doing?
Oh, gosh.
We'll hear what Tua had to say about that a little later in the show, but he's trying to make the tackle. Dolphins lead 10-6 going into halftime. Third quarter, Dolphins 3rd and 3. Tua to Jonnu Smith, just straight trucks that dude. And then watch this, keeps running all the way down to the 1. That is toughness from Smith. Smiths are tough, Kelsey. They're tough.
Is that so?
That's right.
I see what you
Next
did.
play, Tua to Tyreek Hill for a touchdown. Been a long time since we said that.
Yeah.
Career-long 7-game drought without a receiving touchdown, broken. Dolphins up 17-6. Rams just could not get it done in the red zone. Under 7 left in the 4th. Incomplete. 3rd and goal. Matthew Stafford to DeMarcus Robinson. But look at this. Kyron Williams wide open. Doesn't go to him. They have to settle for a field goal. They settled for 5 of them, and it wasn't enough because the Dolphins win 23-15. All right. Jeff Saturday, Domonique, Foxworth with us. Guys, demoralizing loss for the Rams. Jeff, tell us, what does this loss spell for their playoff chances?
Yeah, not as good as we thought they were. I mean, I was disappointed in the Rams, not only their offensive output, but just some of the mental errors they made. It was a sloppy game in general. And when you think about games, we call them like get-right games. And I know I'm not saying the Dolphins are necessarily that, but it's one of those where you going in, this should be a win for you, right? And they didn't play well enough. Kicking the field goals was a brutal way to end. And let's be honest, as we looked at this football team, we thought they would be further along when they got back Nakua and they got back Cup. We thought that explosive offense would come in handy. It did not look like that last night.
Yeah, I think that's the disappointing part is we had excuses for them up until now.
Right.
It's like, wait till they get Cup back. Wait till they get Nakua back. And they're in a really competitive division with a bunch of tough teams. So this was a game, like you mentioned, there are some games on your schedule that if you want to be competitive, you have to win.
Yep.
This was one of those for the Rams, and they lost it.
On the other side of things, I mean, Miami, they had some excuses in their 3-game skid as well, but they snapped it last night, and Tua said post-game, hopefully this is an opportunity to not waste. So, Jeff, how do they use this win to spark a run for the playoffs and not waste what they did last night?
Well, I think they look at this, and their defense played really well. And when if you can stop teams, you have a chance, especially with the explosive players they have offensively. They didn't play great offensively either. So if you think about this team, you go, hey, we really didn't play our best, and we still came out of here on the road with a win. Those are the kinds of things that you do. And if you look at their schedule, I'm not saying it is, I'll say it this way, it's favorable for them to make kind of a run like we talk about with the Bengals. They have 3 tough teams. You see it right here. They got the Packers, the Texans, and the Niners. Depending on what the Niners do, it could just be the Packers and Texans. You're talking about this team could eventually sneak their way in or win their way in. That was the spark they needed last night. Hopefully they'll stack some wins on top of this.
Yeah, that starts. Oh, go ahead, Dominique.
No, you got it, Ryan.
No, please, go.
I was saying if they can keep this up, they'll be good and keep their quarterback healthy. That's the concerning part. Tell that man get his head away from everybody. If you turn the ball over, go ahead. Tell your tackle to go get him.
Preach.
That's the part that's scary is watching him out there throw his body. But when you're a football player, you always kind of snap into that mode. But I think the point that Jeff made that I really like hearing him say is it's about the defense. And it's really kind of you to say the rest of their schedule is favorable.
What's the sentiment inside the locker room, and what do you tell people who are wondering about whether McCarthy will be your coach next year?
You know, that's above my pay grade about if Mike is coaching again next year. But, you know, all coaching aside, you know, Mike can leave and go wherever he wants. But the guys I kind of feel bad for is guys like Zach Martin and guys who might be on their last year or on their way out, you know, because that's who I wanted to hold the trophy for. You know, you want to win games and do great things with those type of legends who put in more time and work than Mike McCarthy ever did. So those are the kind of guys that I have so much sympathy and hurt for.
With post-game remarks and really any remarks, when it does create questions for others in the locker room, conversation has to happen. So Mike and I had a conversation this morning about it, and handle those things as men should handle it.
All right, Jeff Saturday back with us now, and then on his podcast yesterday, Micah Parsons said, I never once threw or even intended to throw Mike McCarthy under the bus. I will tell you that people listening in here heard the beginning and they were like, okay. And then you get to the end where he says more time and work than he ever did, and everybody goes, oh, something else. What's your reaction when you hear both of these comments in 48 hours? That's exactly what we needed, because there was a noise around here that needed to be beeped out, and there may have been some conversations that needed to be beeped out. Jeff, what was your reaction? Was it that?
Yeah, I think if he would have stopped at the beginning, like you said, it all kind of goes away. And here's the thing. I think Micah Parsons was trying to talk about Zach Martin and potentially Diggs, some of the guys that he's played with for a number of years. They've won 12 games together a few times, haven't quite done it in the playoffs. And you do hurt for your players. And so I do understand from a player perspective, you want more for the guys you're playing with than necessarily your coaches. But at the end of the day, bringing McCarthy back in at the end felt like a shot. I don't think it was an intended shot. I don't think he was trying to disrespect them. Obviously, they worked it out. But again, you get in this whole podcasting thing where, like, everything you got to say, you're always trying to say it. You're always trying to keep on edge. At some point, it's gonna bite you, and for Parsons, that was this opportunity.
Ryan and I were just talking about the podcasting during the break, and knowing that your mic is always on and you're gonna be judged off of what you say. That is exactly what happened there. Meanwhile, this team is 3-6, a season after winning their division, and barring a miraculous turnaround, it'll be the 20th straight season without a repeat champ in the NFC East. So the two front runners, Jeff, are the Commanders and the Eagles, and they kick off in Week 11 in just 2 days. Who needs to make the biggest statement on Thursday night?
I'm going Commanders here, and I think Commanders, it could go either way. This is a big game, obviously two great football teams chasing this the NFC East championship, but the Commanders haven't beaten a team that was over 500 when they played them. And so to me, the Commanders, they played the Ravens tight, right? They played a tight game last weekend against the Steelers, but came up a little bit short. The Commanders have played good. To get to that next level, they got to beat the Eagles, right? They're going on the road. This would be a massive statement if they can go and take out the Eagles at their place. Looking forward to a heck of a ball game, but I think it's more of a statement for the Commanders than for the Eagles.
Especially when you have that primetime stage on Thursday Night Football. Jeff Saturday going to be back with us in a little while. That's right. They are standing by. It is always a fun part of the show on Tuesday, not just because of what they say, but because of what their faces do when you see and hear what the other person says. Dan Graziano, Jeff Saturday with us now. And guys, let's start with our very first one. Christian McCaffrey is going to save the 49ers season. Dan, is this an overreaction?
Yes, Kelsey, it's an overreaction. Look, obviously they weren't dominant in the win on Sunday with McCaffrey back. They have other problems, right? It's not like he was their only injury or only issue they were dealing with this year. Brandon Ayuk's injury was season-ending. He's not coming back. He's going to be tough to replace, already has been. And the biggest part, Jeffrey, is I look on the defensive side of the ball for the 49ers, and they just don't look the same to me. Fred Warner's still playing well, but I just don't think they're quite the same up front as they used to be, and it's hard to get to the Super Bowl and get back. I'd feel a lot better about this if the Rams had managed to even score a touchdown last night, but I think it's an overreaction to assume Christian McCaffrey will save the 49ers season.
I'm going to say not an overreaction, and I will say the game would have looked different had Moody made his kicks as well. It wouldn't have been nearly as tight, so he obviously has to make the one at the end. Okay, but he was injured. He comes back in week one. Back in this one, so does McCaffrey. Again, McCaffrey will change this offense because of what he can do, not only as a running back, but when they split him out, how that helps the defense and translates to there, it allows the defense not to be on the field nearly as much, let that defensive line be able to rush. I don't think they're the exact same team, like you said, without Ayuk, but I still think this is a heck of a football team and well coached. They're going to win a lot of games.
The only thing that gets more attention than when Christian McCaffrey is on the field than my face when you full named Jeff Saturday before he even got to talk and gave him a Jeffrey. I like it. Meanwhile, let's talk about the Giants.
Payback's about to come down.
The Giants need to replace Daniel Jones with Drew Lock for the rest of the season. Danny, is it an overreaction?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. It's not an overreaction. I know what he's going to say. It's not an overreaction. Whatever you want to say about Daniel Jones, you cannot say he hasn't gotten a chance to show what he can do in New York. Earlier in the year, it looked like they were starting to turn a corner. They didn't. Absolutely not. He has been terrible. He has a $23 million injury guarantee on his contract for next year. If they keep playing him and he gets hurt and can't pass a physical in March, they got to pay him $23 million next year, whether he's on the team or not. I think it's about time with this bye week that the Giants need to strongly consider a switch at quarterback, and they're going to be moving on in the offseason anyway. And I'm just going to try and keep talking so Jeff doesn't say exactly everything I know what he's going to say.
Daniel, Danny, however you want to go. I'm pretty sure about a month ago, the understated story for him was how good Daniel Jones had played and how this is just going to be a resurgence for the Giants and Daniel Jones. And I mocked him then. And now he's playing both sides of the same coin. Not sure how this is. This is an overreaction. Again, he flows with the wind. Hey, Daniel Jones is not the only problem. I think that's what you just said about the 49ers. No. He's not the only problem that the Giants have. No. So, if we're going to lay it all at the feet of Daniel Jones, I think it'll be an easy move. This is not. They have a multitude of issues, and they got to fix a lot. It ain't just about Daniel Jones.
You know what? Let's go back to the tape from Week 3, and here's what Dan Graziano. No, I'm just kidding. Yes. I'm just kidding. Danny, I would never do that to you here on SportsCenter. You get up early with us.
No accountability here.
All right, Dan, we got one more time for one more, and let's this time do the story from Week 10 that we are underreacting to. What is that for you?
Mike Tomlin's the coach of the year right now in the NFL. Like, there's a heavy year to play, we'll see, but if it happened right now, you'd have to give him coach of the year. Think about this quarterback situation in the offseason. Is it going to work? Are either one of them going to be any good? He ended up having to go with Fields for the first 6 games. Then switching up when he was 4-2, there were people in his own building wonder what he was thinking. Obviously, it's gotten better with the offense with Russell Wilson. They're sitting there now at 7-2 and in first place. Tough part of their schedule still ahead, but Tomlin has put them in position to take advantage of this hot start because he's managed this quarterback situation so well.
This is my Tomlin eyes right here, the intensity. I wish I spoke as well as Tomlin to say this is an overreaction. This is an overreaction. How about Dan Quinn? Tomlin has never lost. He's always really good. He always finds ways to win. He has his toughest portion of the schedule coming up. We'll have to see how their team goes on. But Dan Quinn comes in. He starts a rookie quarterback. All of a sudden, they have a great run game. Their defense is playing better. So if we're going to go ahead and say a team that shocks the world is the Washington Commanders, I would probably say it's a bit an overreaction to give it to a coach who has never had a losing season. He's a great coach. He's done some great things. They got the tough part. How about we just say this is a bit of an overreaction by Dan once again. We'll probably revisit this, and we'll follow this tape about 5 weeks from now, and everybody will be like, Saturday, you were right about Dan Quinn.
Yeah, it's possible. It could happen. Look, I just don't understand what's so impressive about winning with a rookie quarterback when this guy's winning with a washed-up quarterback. I think that's even harder, but that's just me.
He's like, if you're going to run back the tape, remember to run back the part where I also said it was possible next time in 5 weeks from now. Dan and Jeff Saturday, always fun.